In 1897, King Gojong did something nobody expected. He declared Korea an empire. New name, new title, new era. He was done being everyone's puppet. But here's the thing, his biggest enemy wasn't Japan. It wasn't China or Russia. It was himself. Every single time someone tried to save his country, he destroyed them. He funded Korea's first democratic movement for years, then crushed it himself over 2 anonymous letters. And that wasn't even the worst one. This is the story of a king who burned every lifeboat his people built. In 1863, a 12-year-old kid was placed on the throne of Korea. Not because he was ready, not because anyone believed in him. His father needed a puppet, and a 12-year-old was the perfect one. That kid was Gojong, the 26th king of the Joseon Dynasty. For the next 10 years, his father, the Daewongun, ran everything. And this guy did not mess around. He shut down roughly 560 private academies that were basically political power bases for the elite. He forced the untouchable aristocrats to pay taxes for the first time. He rebuilt the royal palace, Gyeongbokgung, which had been sitting in ruins for 270 years. And to pay for all of it, he printed a new coin worth 100 times the old one on paper, but only 5 or 6 times in reality. Imagine printing a $100 bill that's actually worth $5. Rice prices shot up 6-fold in under 2 years. The economy was in freefall, but the palace looked great. Oh, and he sealed the entire country off from the outside world. No trade, no diplomacy, no contact. Then in 1873, Gojong turned 21 and finally pushed back. With help from his wife, Queen Min, he shoved his father out of power and took control. But here's the problem. While Korea had been locked away, the world had moved on. Japan forced the ports open with gunboats in 1876, Korea's first modern treaty, and it was an unequal one. China still treated Korea like a vassal. Russia was circling, and in 1882, when soldiers rioted because they hadn't been paid in over a year, China stepped in, kidnapped the Daewongun, and shipped him off to Tianjin for 3 years. So picture Gojong at this point. He's finally in charge, but his country is broke, his neighbors are carving it up, and his own father just got hauled away by a foreign army. He genuinely wanted to modernize. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't indifferent. He had the vision. But he had a fatal flaw. Every time someone tried to save his country, he backed them, right up until the moment it got dangerous. Then he turned on them, 3 times. The first chance came in 1884. A group of young reformers had a plan to save Korea. And for about 3 days, it actually worked. So there's this guy named Kim Ok-gyun. He's young, he's brilliant, and he's figured out the core problem. The entire fiscal system is rigged. The Min clan, Queen Min's family, they've turned the treasury into their personal bank account. As long as that structure exists, Korea can't modernize. So Kim Ok-gyun and his crew come up with a plan. End Chinese interference. Abolish aristocratic privileges. Rebuild the government from scratch. And they're not just dreamers. Japan has about 200 military guards in Seoul, and they've promised support. December 4, 1884, they launch the coup. They seize the palace. They announce reforms. For 3 days, it looks like Korea might actually have a future. Then 1,500 Qing troops roll in. 200 Japanese guards against 1,500 Chinese soldiers. It wasn't even close. Now here's where Gojong comes in. When the reformers first took the palace, he didn't resist. He met with them. He listened to their plans. He basically said, "Okay." But the second those Qing troops showed up, he didn't stand with the reformers. He didn't say, "These are my allies, back off." He just let them fall. The reformers fled to Japan. Kim Ok-gyun, the guy who had a real plan to fix everything, was later assassinated in Shanghai. Imagine someone tells you, "Your house is on fire. Here's the escape plan. You say, okay, let's go. Then when the fire department shows up, you pretend you never knew the guy. But here's the thing. That was him being passive. Wait until you see what he did when he was actively involved. 12 years later, Gojong got a second chance. This time, he didn't just support the reformers, he personally funded them. For years. And what he did next is genuinely unbelievable. But first, you need to understand what happened in those 12 years. Because between 1884 and 1896, Gojong's world completely fell apart. Japan assassinated his wife, Empress Myeongseong. Over 50 Japanese agents stormed the palace at dawn, killed her, and then burned her body to destroy the evidence. All that was left was a single charred finger bone. 56 suspects were put on trial in Hiroshima. Every single one was acquitted. Lack of evidence. They burned the evidence themselves. After that, Gojong was so terrified that he literally fled to the Russian embassy in Seoul and governed his own country from a foreign building for 374 days. A king, running his kingdom from someone else's embassy. That's where things stood. So when he finally came out in 1897, he did something bold. He declared Korea an empire. New title, new era name, new identity. He wasn't just a king anymore, he was an emperor. And then he did the smartest thing he'd ever done. He funded Korea's first modern civic organization, the Independent Association. Public debates, newspapers, a people's assembly. For the first time in Korean history, ordinary citizens had a voice. This wasn't just reform, this was democracy being born. And Gojong built it. He sponsored it. He watched it grow for years. And this is the part most people don't know about. One day, somebody slipped Gojong 2 anonymous letters. No signature, no name, no proof, just 2 unsigned letters claiming the Independent Association was secretly planning to overthrow him. And instead of investigating, instead of asking a single question, instead of doing literally anything a rational person would do, Gojong sent in his own soldiers and a royalist counter-organization called the Imperial Association to destroy the entire movement. 2. Anonymous. Letters. That's all it took. No names, no evidence, no investigation. Just 2 unsigned pieces of paper, and he burned down the one thing that could have given Korea a democratic backbone before Japan came to take everything. Imagine you spent years building a startup, hired the team, funded the office, believed in the mission. Then one day, you get 2 unsigned emails saying your employees are plotting against you. No names, no proof. And instead of asking around, you call security, fire everyone, and burn the office down. That's what Gojong did, to the movement he built himself. That's the lifeboat moment. He built it, he funded it, and he set it on fire with his own hands. So now there's no democratic movement, no reformers, no allies. And 7 years later, when Japan came for everything, Gojong had no one left to call. On November 17, 1905, Japan took everything. The Yulsa Treaty stripped Korea of all diplomatic sovereignty. Every embassy, every foreign relationship, every voice on the world stage, gone. Gojong never signed it. To his credit, he fought back this time. A week later, he smuggled a secret letter to the German embassy denouncing the treaty as forced at gunpoint. In 1907, he sent 3 secret envoys to the Hague Peace Conference. Yi Sang-seol, Yi Jun, and Yi Wei-jong, a diplomat fluent in 7 languages. Their mission: declare this treaty illegal before the world. The world refused to listen. Major powers wouldn't even let them in the room. Japan used the Hague attempt as their excuse. On July 20, 1907, they forced Gojong off the throne. His army was disbanded. His youngest son, Yi-un, 10 years old, was taken to Japan. But here's the part that stays with you. When his own ministers confronted him about the treaty, when it was his one moment to plant his feet and say, "I refuse," Gojong said this, "Don't talk to me, talk to my ministers." That's it. He passed the buck. The man who built the lifeboat, funded the lifeboat, burned the lifeboat, couldn't even hold the match and say it was his. By 1910, Korea was fully annexed. 518 years of Joseon ended. Gojong signed nothing, but he had no one left to fight for him. He'd made sure of that himself. On January 21st, 1919, Gojong died at Deoksugung Palace. Officially, cerebral hemorrhage. But here's what actually happened. He drank a sikye. Within 30 minutes, violent convulsions, paralysis. He gripped his attendants' hands so hard, eunuchs had to pry them open. His body swelled so grotesquely, they cut his clothes off. Teeth fell from their sockets. Black marks from throat to stomach. No autopsy. Ever. But here's the final twist. His death did what his life never could. His funeral drew massive crowds, and organizers used that gathering to launch the March 1st movement. Over 1,500 protests. Up to 2 million people in the streets. The man who burned every lifeboat accidentally became one himself. Weeks later, the Korean Provisional Government was established in Shanghai. Nations don't fall because of enemies at the gates. They fall because leaders can't commit when it counts. Gojong had the vision. He just couldn't hold on to it. If this story hit different, subscribe. We've got more coming.